What's going on? In today's episode of 2025 NFL Schedule Predictions, we have the little brothers of football in Texas, the Houston Texans.
What you say?
Starting it off hot, the Texans are just coming off of their second straight 10-7 season and divisional round exit. This year, Vegas has them winning 9.5 football games. I think the first big thing we have to address is the Texans finally got rid of Bobby Slowick. This offense was seeing a ton of challenges they didn't have in years prior, mainly due to their horrible offensive line that allowed their quarterback CJ Stroud to get sacked over 50 times last season. The Texans went ahead and replaced Bobby Slowick with Nick Caley at offensive coordinator. They also fired their offensive line coach Chris Strausser and brought in a new guy, so hopefully their offensive line can improve a little bit. Clearly that was their biggest weakness in the 2024 campaign. The Texans lost Laramie Tunsil, Shaq Mason, and Kenyon Green. You know, on paper the Texans gave up a ton to get Laramie Tunsil, and Kenyon Green was obviously a first round draft pick. You hate to see that core not work out, but their pass protection was just horrible. Mixon still had a lot of success in that run game, but they committed way too many penalties, specifically talking about Laramie Tunsil, and I think everyone knows it was time for a little revamp there if this team wants to go further than that divisional round. I think the Texans had one of the better drafts in the NFL. They picked up Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State and Ariante Ursary in the second round there. Big offensive lineman out of Minnesota. I like that guy a whole bunch to plug into that offensive line spot that they so desperately need to beef up. They also signed the other Iowa State wide receiver, Jalen Noel. On another team, this guy may have not seen a ton of playing time, but because Tank Dell is still recovering from that ACL, MCL, PCL, we're probably not going to see him this year. I'm really excited to see what these Iowa State guys can do on this already premier wide receiver core. They also picked up Jalen Smith out of USC at corner there. The Texans already have a monster secondary, so this guy joining them just adds even more depth to this already scary defense. Speaking of secondary, one of their biggest offseason pickups was a trade for CJ Gardner-Johnson. Some other additions were Christian Kirk. They also picked up Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, and Trent Brown to plug into that offensive line. I don't think these guys are going to come in and make them a whole lot better than they were last season. Hopefully they can commit less penalties, but I like that the Texans went really heavy there in the offseason with regards to their trenches. You got to hope those three guys plus Ursary really make the change that this offense needs. You got to hope they can at least allow less than 50 sacks because that was just ridiculous. So I wouldn't say that CJ Stroud had a sophomore slump. I think a huge reason why he wasn't as productive or efficient as his rookie year was mainly due to that offensive line. Now that he has a proven core on that offense of Nico Collins, you got the Iowa State boys, Higgins and Noel. You also have Christian Kirk now joining that team. He's no slouch. If you continue to support CJ with that security blanket and Dalton Schultz and a really good receiving and running back, Joe Mixon, then I think we're staring at the best offense this team has had in their 23-year history. Now the defense is where stuff really starts to get real with this team. DeMeco Ryans is a wizard with this defense, I have to admit. He brought this team from being the worst defense in the league to the past couple of years being a top 10 unit. Last year they finished 7th in total defense, and their D-line and secondary are both ranked by PFF as the 4th best units in the league. I think their secondary might even be second to Baltimore. They are absolutely nasty now after getting CJ Gardner-Johnson. They still have Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassner, Jalen Petrie, and Jimmy Ward, one of the NFL's most consistent safeties. That's just to name a few, but I think in terms of depth, this is the deepest secondary in the league. I wouldn't even be concerned if one of their top guys got injured for a little bit of time. I think they have so many pieces right now that any one of those guys could step up and still perform at a high level. And that defensive line led by Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson is still one of the league's best. So with their draft additions and departures out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this NFL schedule prediction. But before we do, you guys please go ahead and drop me a like on this video. And as I go through it, you guys leave me your comments on what your predictions are. Starting off in week 1, we actually have kind of a heater here. A lot of people are talking about that Cowboys-Philly game, the Detroit and Green Bay week 1 game, but this is a sleeper for week 1. We got Houston in LA taking on the Rams. Now, both of these are big-time playoff teams. I think the main thing to look for going into this matchup is really going to be a test of that Texans revamped offensive line versus LA's new defensive line. Because it's early on and I don't have too much faith in this Texans offensive line, I went ahead and gave this one to the Rams. And another interesting one in week 2, this is a Monday Night Football game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the home opener for Houston. I think we have another great positional group matchup in this one. That's going to be Tampa's wide receivers versus Houston's secondary. Right now at this current moment in time, I actually like Houston's roster a little bit better than Tampa's. Go ahead and give me the Texans in week 2 on Monday Night Football. Now, week 3 in Jacksonville might be a little bit controversial because I actually have Jacksonville taking this one. Last year, the Texans kept it pretty close with Jacksonville in both of those games. In fact, they kept it close in almost every divisional game they played last year. The only game they won by more than a touchdown against a divisional opponent was that week 18 game versus Tennessee. Thankfully, the Texans are playing in the worst division in the AFC. If they were playing in the West or the North, I would be really scared if I were the Texans. I think Jacksonville has improved enough this offseason, plus a healthy Trevor Lawrence. You got to remember, Trevor Lawrence missed a ton of the season last year. But in total, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Jacksonville's offense coming into this season. For that reason, I do have the Texans splitting with them this year. Go ahead and give me the away game in Jacksonville for the Jaguars. I do, however, like Houston to rebound in the following week against Tennessee. Go ahead and give me the Texans here in week 4. This is important though because this is going into an away game in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson and this Baltimore team has been Houston's kryptonite the past couple of seasons. I think the trend continues. I like Baltimore because this one is away. If this was in Houston, I would consider taking the Texans in this matchup. But for right now, I definitely think Baltimore and that league's best secondary is going to be a little bit too much for Houston on this night. Go ahead and give me the Ravens in week 5. I can already see my buddies typing up their comments now after saying the Texans start 2-3, but hold your fucking horses because I think the Texans go on a pretty nice win streak here. I like Houston when it comes to this Monday Night Football game on the road in Seattle. I don't like Sam Darnold. I don't know why Seattle just gave him all that money. Give me the Texans. I also think this 3-game home stretch is going to prove to be pretty beneficial for the Texans. Go ahead and give me the win against San Francisco. You don't know how Christian McCaffrey is going to return this season. Is he going to be fully healthy? Who knows? That San Francisco team has a lot of questions surrounding them. I like the Texans. I think they're a little bit more proven right now. I also really like Houston against Denver. This matchup's going to be interesting to see because I think the Broncos have kind of a middle-of-the-pack offense. I think Texans defense matches up pretty good against them. The thing about the Broncos is they really excel versus the run, so the Texans are really going to have to lean on CJ and that wide receiver core in this one. Denver led the league in sacks last year, so this also really comes down to Houston's offensive line. If they can hold up, I think Houston gets it done in home versus the Broncos. Go ahead and give me the Texans in this matchup. And as I said earlier, I think Houston splits with Jacksonville, so go ahead and give me the Texans' 4th win in a row coming out of their bye week. Now, this one on the road in Tennessee is going to be interesting. I know the Texans are most likely going to be favored in this one. You got Tennessee building around that rookie quarterback. But last year, the Titans were able to squeak one out over the Texans. I think this year, that same trend with the Texans underperforming against divisional opponents might continue. Go ahead and give me the Titans to squeak one out over the Texans, halting that win streak that they just went on. Now, this Week 12 matchup against Buffalo might be the game of the year for Houston fans. Last year, Houston limited Josh Allen to his worst performance of his MVP season. Some might say the Texans started his villain arc there. This year, I think the Texans might be able to do it again on Thursday Night Football. This is primetime TV, 2 of the AFC's best teams going up against each other. I'm not in love with the weapons that Josh Allen has, and I've said it a bunch. I really do like this Texans defense. Go ahead and give me Houston in Week 12 to take down the Buffalo Bills.
One day the guy on the buffalo was romping around in a pasture. Buffaloes was minding babies, but also getting hunted by some hunters. One of them was loud.
But then I see the Texans doing some Texan stuff like in that Jets game last year. Who knows who the starting quarterback's going to be in this one? Is it going to be Danny Dimes? Is it Anthony Richardson? Regardless, I think the Texans are going to split with Indy this year. Go ahead and give me the Colts in the Indianapolis matchup. And also give me Kansas City at home. This is Sunday Night Football when the refs, I mean the Chiefs, are at their absolute best. The Texans are one of the smaller market teams in the NFL, so I don't think their plot armor is going to be thick enough for this Sunday Night Football primetime game. Go ahead and give me the Chiefs in that one. So 7-6 is not where you want to see the Texans at this point in the season. Thankfully, like I said, they are in the AFC South. There's still a lot of wiggle room in this division, even if they're hovering around 500. But I think this might be where we start to see what makes the Texans a little bit different from this season compared to last season. I think the Texans go on a mean win streak going into the playoffs, kind of propelling them in a way which they haven't had the past couple years. I think they stumbled a little bit going into the playoffs the past couple years. They were able to get it done in both those wild card games, but if the Texans want to go a little bit further than that, we're going to need to see this team pick up some serious steam in this back quarter of the season. With that being said, give me the win versus Arizona and Las Vegas. I think the Texans are better than both of these teams. Both of those games are at home. Give me Houston to take care of both of them. Also, we know what the Texans did to the Chargers last year. This year, that Texans rush defense is going to be even more pivotal in stopping Justin Herbert and the Chargers. I think they are going to be a really scary team this year, but give me the Texans to get it done here in Week 17. And I also like Houston to pretty thoroughly put belt to ass against Indianapolis. This is in Houston. If I had to put my money on it, I would say the Texans wrap up the 2025 campaign going on a 4-win streak, clinching the AFC South and returning to the playoffs for a franchise record 3 years in a row. So yeah, guys, when it comes to Vegas's line of 9.5 wins, go ahead and give me a pretty confident over on this one. I like Houston to win at least 10 games again this year. I think their ceiling is pushing 12 to 13 games, and that's being very, very hopeful that this offensive line is finally panning out. If not, we could see them win 8 or 9 games, but I think this AFC South is weak enough to where, regardless, I like this Houston team to come away with the division title. And yeah, hopefully we can see some success out of the Texans this season. You got to feel good for them. They finally have fans showing up to the games. They haven't had much to cheer for in these past 25 years, but hopefully this season will give the Texans something to really hang their hats on. But that's going to do it for my NFL schedule prediction. You guys go ahead and comment, give me a like and subscribe on this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
The buffalo scattered, the other hunter got mad, kicked him in the knee and punched him right in the mouth. He tackled the other hunter, not sure why, but it turned into this whole big deal. Guy on a buffalo, sneak up on you like